Welcome back to the show. In this case, we'll be talking about air layering. Now, what is layering? Layering is basically taking a piece of the plant and basically producing roots so that you can get a mature plant right on the tree itself. This process usually takes a month to a month and a half, depending on the type of plant you're doing. All right, so what you get is basically a mature plant, a very small mature plant, which will mean that the plant will already be flowering and fruiting in a very short time. So that's basically what air layering is. Now, in air layering, you have to scar the tissue of the plant or scar the cambium of the plant in order for it to produce fruits. I will take step by step and demonstrate to you what you guys need and how easy air layering is and how quick you can get a mature plant. All right? First, what you're gonna need is your shears. All gardeners need their hand shears. You're also gonna need a knife. Sharp knife. In this case, I have a grafting knife, so it's very sharp. You're gonna need a rooting medium. For my rooting medium, I'm gonna use soil. You can either use composted manure, horse manure, or you can use compost, or you can use just regular soil. I have a soil mixed with sand, compost, and soil. So I have added a little bit of water. You want it to be moist, not too wet. You don't want water to be dripping off your fingers. That will be too wet and it will rot this scarification that you've done and therefore kill the branch that you want to propagate. So you don't want that. You want it to be moist or not too wet. So this is my rooting medium. You need a plastic wrap. Some people would recycle black plastic bag, and that's okay. You can use that as well. You also need foil paper, and you need something to tie it with. I use flagging tape, or you can use fishing line. Anything that you want to tie the ends with. You can use a string, a regular string, that would be fine. You're gonna need water. All right, just in case your mix got a little bit too dry, you want to wet it up. So this one will come in handy. You can also use tape, regular tape. All right, so these are all things that you want to have at hand while doing air layer. I'm going to show you how to do it with the foil first, and then after we're going to do an even simpler way, doing it with a recycled water bottle or a recycled cup. All right, so first what you need to do is prepare. Before you do anything to the plant, you need to prepare your rooting medium first. All right, so you're gonna take your foil. You want to take out at least about a foot and just spread it out. So you take your rooting medium. Again, it's moist, it's not too wet. You want to have enough. There we go. That should be enough. A little bit more. So you want to prepare that first before you start cutting on the plant. All right. Then you go to the plant that you want to propagate. In this case, we are doing bilimbi. Bilimbi is related to star fruit. Bilimbi is a little bit sour, or very sour, and it fruits all year long. And it's good for marmalades, it's good for jams, it's also good for wine and juices. Alright, so it's a good fruit tree to have in your backyard. Birds love it. Alright, so we want to propagate bilimbi. We want to have a very small bilimbi already giving fruit. So we want to cut the mature stage of the plant. So what do I do? First, you have to find a branch that is actually in the sun or facing the sun or out in the sun. You cannot do it on a shady area. It will work in some plants, but most of them it will rot off because due to the moisture. All right, so you identify the plant you want to do, then you identify the branch you want to use. First, you have to look at the branch. It has to be healthy. It has to be more or less a pencil thick or thicker. You don't want to do 2 inches in diameter thick. That would be too thick. All right, so about pencil thick, it's okay. It's fair enough. Then you want to see where you want to do the cut. Where are you going to attach this rooting medium? All right. So if there are leaves around, you take your shears and you want to clean it up. Don't be afraid to remove the leaves. Just clean it up a little bit. Another thing that you have to notice is you have to notice that the plant is in active growth. In active growth means it will have young shoot, and this is a good sign that the plant is growing cells are active. Therefore, whatever injury you make to it, it will heal much faster, or if you want it to root, it will produce roots more faster. So that's a good sign that it's good for you to propagate. Now here is where I want to put my rooting medium. Now wherever you're gonna make the cut, it has to be in the internode. Now what's the internode? Internode is basically the space that you have between 2 nodes or 2 leaves. Usually the leaves come out right at the nodes. So the space that you have between the 2 leaves, that's what you call the internode. So that's where your cuts are gonna go, in the internodes. The cuts are gonna be about 1 inch apart. You can do it smaller, 1/2 inch, but it has a higher chance of it to unite instead of it to root. So you check the internode, and I'm gonna start my cut. All right, you want to cut all the way into the cambium until you meet the wood itself, until you meet the xylem. All right, cut. So your 2 cuts are about 1 inch apart. Then you start peeling away this area in between. All right, remember your knife has to be sharp, and your cut has to be clean. Your hands, if they are clean, is even better. You don't want to be touching on the cut that you are creating, because remember your hand has germs, so you don't want to infest the cuts that you made on the plant. You want to scrape off all the little thread-like tissue, which is called the cambium, which allows the plant to heal back. You don't want the plant to heal back. You actually want it to root. So you want to scrape off all the cambium all around. If you leave an area without peeling off the cambium, it will actually produce a bridge from the top and the bottom, and it will not root. Therefore, it will cause your air layer to fail. So that's one way that your air layer can fail. And this method you can apply to any dicotyledon plant. A dicotyledon is a plant that is opposite to the grasses. Grasses are mono. The venation are parallel, whereas a the venation is more branched out. So that is how you can tell a dicotyledon plant. So palms, you cannot do palms like this. You cannot do banana plants like this. You cannot do grasses like this. All right, bamboo is a grass. Bamboo is an exception. There are some palms that you can do, but that's a little bit more complicated. Whereas trees, any fruit tree you can do like this. Any flowering shrub, basically roses, the yesterday, today, and tomorrows, all of those you can actually do this. Hibiscus, the citrus is actually very easy. It's a very easy method to do, and you get exactly what the mother plant does. So if this mother plant gives a lot of fruit, your little plant that you get is going to give a lot of fruit as well. If your mother plant gives sour oranges, your little plant that you get is going to give sour oranges. It's not going to change in any way or form. All you are doing is speeding up the maturing stage. So the plant will fruit and flower much faster, all right, at the sooner stage. So after you have scarified, and cleaned up the cambium area, it's all around, all right, you need to ring it around. You take your rooting medium, all right, you want to do it, you want to balance it, so you're going to put the stem right in the center. So the cut, especially the upper cut, is the most important. That goes right in the middle, all right, so you want to have it placed right there. If you do it too much to the bottom or too much to the top, it will fail because the cut won't have anything to get its water from, therefore it will not produce roots, it will dry out, all right. So you look at it and you take it. All right, what you want to focus on is on the top and the bottom. They has to be completely sealed so that ants don't get inside, and usually ants would go in there and nest. You don't want that, you want to avoid that, so you want to seal it. If you need more foil, you can add more foil, all right, and that will make the rooting medium a little bit stronger. So you can take more foil and actually put on top. All right, like that. Does look like a little sweet, all right. Now, usually when birds, if you do it out in the field, and usually when birds see something shiny like this, they would come and rip it apart, all right. So you want to avoid that, and then that's where the plastic comes in. You can use, again, you can use a black plastic bag and just tie it over, just to camouflage the shininess of the foil. So I'm gonna use plastic wrap. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up so that the birds cannot rip it apart. Again, if you don't have problem with birds, or you find another easier way to deal with the birds, then you do it your way, you do it. But as long as you have it covered, the birds seem to leave it alone, all right. Now the flagging tape or whatever string you have at hand comes in, and you want to tie both ends, and this would be to completely seal the rooting medium so that the moisture doesn't escape and water doesn't go in, or it doesn't dry out. So you don't want moisture to escape, you don't want it to dry out, all right. So you're gonna tie it up tight. On both ends. What you can do with this tape as well is actually write on it the day and date that you perform this propagation, this vegetative propagation. You want to write the day that you did it, you write it right on the tape, all right. And that's essential for you to keep track on how long the layer have that you made it, because usually it takes about a month and a half, 2 months for it to give roots. Now it's difficult to see through, it's going to be impossible to see through if the roots have sprouted or not. Now also if the mix has dried out, what you want to do maybe every month is take a syringe and needle and just inject water in it, just a syringe full, maybe an ounce of water, just inject in there, and that should be fine, all right. In about a month and a half or 2, you would see a little bit swelling, or you will see roots starting coming out from the foil, and that's a sign that already there's a lot of roots in here, and you can go ahead and cut it. Now how do you remove it? You cut it straight at the bottom, and you take the foil off and you soak it in water. You also want to remove the young growth, all right. You want the plant to focus more on the root system and producing more roots rather than growing. So when you remove it from here, you also want to get rid of the young shoot, or you can get rid of the young shoot at least 2 weeks before you take it off the mother plant, and it should be fine. Now whenever you remove it, you stick it in a pot with some soil right in the center, just like if you were repotting. You put it in the pot, you fill it up back, and you water it. Usually it takes about 3 weeks for that plant to stabilize and start producing more root. Young growth will show you, will be a sign that the layering is doing excellent. This will be about 2 months, 2 months and a half in time from now. So at that time I will already have a plant that the following year will produce bilimbi, even though it's small like this. So I took 2 months and a half to produce a plant that would probably take 3 years from seed to start producing, 3 to 5 years. So we reduce it to 2 months and a half, and that's the reason for air layering. Now one of the down parts about air layering is that the root system, it takes a while before it becomes strong, because it doesn't have a dominant or a main root or a tap root. It takes a while for it to develop, so the stability of the plant will not be that great. So if you put a stick to support it while it's holding on, then that's even better as well. All right, we'll be back after with another example after these messages.